good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm talking in English today, not in Dutch, because we have an international guest today, Mark, from Zebra BI. Welcome, Mark.
Hello, hello.
Hello. You're a BI consultant at Zebra BI, because we're going to be talking about Zebra BI. It's already in the screen. Let's do our two in the screen. So we'll come back to that later. Where are you from, Mark? Where are you currently calling from?
Situated. Actually, Zebra BI and the team is positioned or headquartered in Slovenia, Ljubljana, so the capital city. We currently still keep it close, but of course we have a lot of people around the world, partners, community members, and so on. So yes, it's exciting.
How large is the Zebra BI team?
Currently, we're about 30 members, but we are expanding really fast.
Cool.
We need a lot of heads on deck.
Yeah. And what do you do as a BI consultant there? What does your typical day look like?
Oh, basically, I give presentations such as this today and help. Yes, exactly, and help customers get to know the idea behind actionable reporting, IBCS, that you previously talked about with Sasha De Jager. I believe it was in January.
Yeah.
And yes, help people make better visualizations and help them get the decisions faster.
Yeah, because that's what we're going to be talking about also today, how you can get actionable reporting in Zebra BI. You're going to share some nice demos and how it works, how you can make the best use of Zebra BI. If you're watching at the moment, we always like it if you say hello, because then we see who is watching. Otherwise, we can't see that. So whether you're looking at LinkedIn or YouTube, let us know. And if you like what we do, give us a thumbs up indeed, what's below in the screen. We always like that. And let's I'm going to add your screen again. And let's, if you can talk us through what you want to share today, that would be great.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yes, hi everyone again. Hello everybody to joining the session. Today we'll actually talk a bit about actionable reporting. And as I said, this is a follow-up session to the session that Sasha De Jager actually did on IBCS and Zebra BI. So if you haven't seen it, maybe give it a go after this one.
Yeah, it's on our YouTube channel. You can watch it back. Yeah,
exactly.
Very good. Oh, you do that nice. You do that smoothly.
Yeah. So just a quick introduction before we start, just about Zebra BI in general. So basically, we're a company focused on business data visualization and specializing in some more advanced Excel and Power BI visuals. We are, of course, focused on business intelligence and financial reporting, but we've seen that the visuals themselves, because they follow the best practices of data visualization and actionable reporting, which we'll talk about today, have seen wide adoption in many areas of reporting as others as well. So it's not just business and strictly financial or sales data. We, of course, do a lot of that on that data, but it can be applied, at least the data practices can be applied across any reporting in organizations. So let's just quickly check the agenda for today. And I know this is more of an informal, let's say, scenario, but this is something that's right up our alley. So we really like if you interact with if you have any questions or exactly.
Yeah.
So
just use the commenting in LinkedIn or in YouTube, and we can directly answer your questions. So
exactly. But just before we dive into everything that we need to talk about today, let me just briefly try to put everything into the context and explain the key concepts, and so some examples of different reports. But of course, we'll jump into Power BI and work directly in there as well. So yeah, what is actually reporting? And this is a basic concept, of course, but I think this definition really sums it up pretty well. So reporting can be defined as the process of using a BI tool to prepare, visualize, and analyze data to find and share insights. In this way, BI reporting helps users to improve decision-making and business performance, right? And it's basically what we're trying to do here is to start from the left side of this diagram and just help to because we all know that the amount of data that we encounter from different sources and platforms and devices is just getting bigger and bigger. And I'm sure that a lot of you are dealing with that on a daily level. But the real challenge is getting something useful from the data, right? And how fast can we get from data to insights to the correct data-driven actions, right? And then to understand what exactly separates a good report from a bad one. It's not just a single element, it's a combination of report structure and functionalities that together make the reports understandable and actionable. So let's do a quick exercise on a typical Power BI report with just, let's say, 4 questions. So regarding the sales dashboard in this particular case. So this would be, is my sales performance good or bad? How good or how bad is it? Why is it so? And what should we do about it? So these are basic questions that any such dashboard should answer. Mm-hmm. So yes, even though data visualization is becoming more and more important, we're still seeing a lot of reports and dashboards that look very similar to this one. And you may wonder, what is wrong with it? It's a nice report. There's a lot of colors. Everything's placed correct, evenly, and there's no overlap, right? But let's put those 4 questions from before. So is our sales performance good or bad? How good or how bad? And why? And what are we going to do about it to see how actionable this report really is? So on the top, we have some, let's say, some cards with the most important numbers of the company. And can you tell immediately if it's good or bad? It's just numbers, right? So we don't know because we don't see the trend. We don't see the comparisons to plan, to previous year. We don't, where do I need to focus my attention on? Is my attention even needed, right? And yes, the report does contain information, but it is not actionable. So you have no idea how good or how bad you are performing. What are you going to focus on, and why is something happening, and what should you do about it, basically? And so if we look at a report that is structured that way for comparison, right, you can immediately see the difference, right? Because we standardize everything, we keep the colors simple, and we focus on what is really important. So we just take a look at the top elements are usually where the KPIs are and so on. And you immediately see this comparison to our targets, so to the plans, right? And because it's red, we can usually associate it with a bad performance and green for good. But this can, of course, be changed depending on the needs and so on. But it just has to be simple, it has to be standardized, and it has to be immediately apparent to the viewer, right? And then having, let's say, some up and down trends, you can again see this because the actual colors are neutral. You can highlight the variances, and then you'll see the difference and see that there's more red than green. And then this implies that, of course, we need to take some action. And again, in the, let's say, variance analysis, it's really useful to use waterfall charts, right? Because they highlight those variances right at the front, and they show you the developments through time and comparing to your targets. Again, then trying to understand why we've underperforming in this particular scenario. If you have everything properly scaled on your dashboards, so within this table, right, the numbers are actually the absolute and relative variances from our targets to plans are actually scaled correctly. And then you can immediately see this outlier, which would be in the women's category in this, let's say, chain and category. And you can then course, maybe add a report page tooltip and so on to plan, to give the entire context and then plan the action. So structure the reports to always focus the viewer into the particular area that needs interest, and of course it inspires to plan the action.
And everything we see here is with Zebra BI. Well, maybe for the people who haven't seen it yet, what do you need to do to start using Zebra BI? Is it a custom visual or what is it?
Yes, it is a custom visual for Power BI, and I will actually show you how easy it is to just implement it into your Power BI reports. You just go into the app source and write in Zebra, and you should be able to download it. So there's actually two versions of the visual. One is the free version, and then the paid version if you, let's say, need really complex customizations of the visuals. But basically the basic version should cover all that you see right now.
You have all the visuals in the free version. In the paid version, you can tweak it a little bit more. Is probably the difference. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Clear.
Okay. So we've answered those, let's say, 4 questions, or if we have not, of course, we'd add additional elements to get the entire context and then plan the action, right?
Yeah.
And this next example is a really actually nice solution to that scaling problem that is often present in the reports. So when we have a lot of elements that need to be compared between each other, but we also want to show the time trends and so on, there's usually a problem because those elements are not scaled between each other. And with the small multiples functionality, which is now thankfully present also in the native Power BI visuals, you can, of course, present that data and visually compare, okay, so this column to this column and then the bottom one. And why is this important? Because it really highlights the impact that each of these categories actually has, right? A relative change, let's say, in the hosiery category, even though it's bigger than in the upper ones, doesn't have enough impact compared to the others, right? And this can be just taken from a glance because all the labels are nicely structured. You have the variances nicely highlighted, and like understanding just from a quick glance is really easy here. So what we have is just from the top 5 elements, we can see, okay, only the home category is actually performing above the plan during this time frame, right? And again, we see this downwards trend in the women's category. So we should, of course, plan the action. So I'll talk, hopefully, this was just a quick demonstration of the conceptual difference between basic reporting and actionable reporting. Now, let's go more into details by explaining individually each of the key elements, right, of actionable reporting. So the first one would be variance analysis. So, and we'll do this by jumping right into Power BI and see how easy it is to do this with Zebra BI. So when we jump in Power BI, we usually see this blank canvas, and then we have some visualizations here. So how to import the Zebra BI visuals into the visualization pane? You just simply click here, get more visuals, go to App Source Visuals, and if you write in Zebra, you find all 3 visuals currently available for Power BI. And these are just 3 visuals, but they are a lot. There's a lot of functionality packed in it, and you can create more than 36 different charts. And we also have, let's say, a chart selector for helping you choose in what scenario which charts should be used. And then we can talk
about... Is that on your website, the chart selector?
Yes.
Where can people find it? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Nice.
It's on the website. It's freely available. Everyone can go and just see where this chart can be used. I can also maybe show it if we have time at the end. Yeah. But basically, we import the visuals from the app source, and we then have them in our reports. Yeah. And yes, so understanding the variance analysis by structure is usually really well handled by the Zebra BI tables because it follows certain guidelines. And structure by IBCS, if you remember, should in most cases, or in almost all cases, be represented vertically, right? keep the horizontal axis for time frames, but the structure for vertically. So what we'll do here, we just populate the data, we do some business analysis. Sorry, a bit misclick here. And we then populate it with your actual data and plan data, for example. And you can see that immediately Zebra BI does some pre-calculations for you. So it automatically calculates the variances, the absolute and the relative from the comparison value. It adds the notation, so you know exactly what you're looking at. So this is the plan, this is the actual data, and it already sorts the data. And you can just apply this custom sorting. Then if you click on any of the columns, you can customly sort them and apply your custom sorting from Power BI just here, right? And this is really out of the box functionality. It also works with the free version and so on. But the key important thing here is that, again, everything is scaled across the visual, everything is standardized, and you can immediately grasp the performance compared to your plan. If you then add additional, let's say, measures, you'll create additional columns. It's, again, the notation applies, the automatic variances get highlighted and so on. If you continue with this trend, of course, we add some forecasts and so on. So you can create really detailed tables with different scenarios. You can also have, let's say, multiple plans, multiple forecasts, and you can just quickly switch between them. Also, you'll notice if you have, let's say, forecast 1 and forecast 2, and you just want to change the chart type here, you'll see that, again, the notation is slightly different. So you can immediately tell, okay, so you can differentiate between the two forecasts. And then if you need to maybe compare between, let's say, actuals and forecast is by default, right? But if you want to compare your start of the year forecast and let's say current forecast, you can just simply switch here in the calculations and just select any of the possible cases. So in this case, we'll select forecast 2 compared to forecast 1, and the calculation is done automatically for you. So there's what
I find very handy in this, because normally you would have to make all these DAX measures to do the calculation, differences, absolute and percentage between all the scenarios.
Yes,
typically,
exactly.
You could do it maybe a little bit more dynamic, but typically people will create a lot of measures. Here you only put in the absolute ones, and the differences are calculated automatically in the visual. Yeah, that's nice.
And of course you can then
you can play around with it.
Rename the columns, play customize around.
But it also works if you want to compare forecast 2 with forecast 1. So if you put the forecast 1 in the actual, or you would play around a little bit with the...
You just simply switch the different calculation that is available here, and also the notation applies. So always the people who watch the reports will know what they look at. And this is nice. Really important.
Very flexible.
The data message.
Yeah. If you have questions, if you look at this and you wonder, hey, but what about this? I always struggle with this in the standard visuals. Let us know, because we want to make it a little bit interactive. So if you have any question, doesn't matter. There are no stupid questions. Just ask, because we can right away discuss it. Yeah, cool. So so this is the table visual. Is that the name or the?
Yeah, Zebra BI tables. Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, okay. So the variance analysis is integrated into those tables, and it's right here. It's scaled properly, and so on.
Yeah.
It's highly customizable, and we'll also. I know that Sasha hasn't talked about so much financial statements, and the tables is really powerful for this.
Because how do you do that? Because indeed in the announcement we also said financial statements are quite tricky to create in Power BI. How would that work in Zebra BI if you create a financial statement indeed?
Okay, so we'll just quickly jump into that example. So if we just start from scratch, right? We have here some sliders that are predetermined, but just so we have, let's say, a switch between the P&L, balance sheet, and cash flow accounts that are structured here. So usually if you have the tables, you start with the table. Excuse me, just now I changed the report type. So I need to do this to the slicer back. Okay, so yeah, if we have a switch between the balance sheet, P&L statement, yeah, doesn't matter. Okay, so we have it here, but then we just bring the tables and we populate it with, let's say, account groups and accounts. So we create a hierarchy here, and this is usually what we have, right? And then we, of course, bring in our, let's say, actual data, and again, usually we compare to some sort of targets and so on. But usually the best way to represent this data is actually through, let's say, some waterfall charts to see the developments, and then have, right now we see the revenues at the top and so on. But if we just remove the custom sorting or ZebraBI sorting here, we can apply a waterfall chart directly on the column, right? And in this regard, you can immediately see, okay, now this looks more like a financial statement. We'll just turn off the grand total here for now. And then we have some data here present, but as we can see, the costs are actually, we'll just move this to the second stage so we can better compare, but the costs are represented as a let's say positive value, and this is completely fine, right? There's two ways. If you have it present in the model that is already inverted, it's fine. But if you don't, if you have costs and so on represented as positive values, this is really easy to change here, because you don't have to go back to your modeling specialist and so on. You just go here, right click on the row and invert those columns. And
right.
And as you can see, we'll get this minus sign, and the variances get inverted.
Nice.
As well. So you can, okay, so now these are the costs. It should be subtracted from the waterfall. So moving on next, we should probably mark this as a result, and you can just, because it's floating somewhere here, right? The gross margin, you just mark it.
So he can define per line what he needs to do.
Exactly.
Okay. That's very nice. Yeah.
And using this logic, again, we invert several elements here because these are the costs, there are expenses, and this now results in the operating income. We have some other income should be added.
Cool.
And then we have the income before taxes minus provision for income. Again, invert. Okay, but net income should be the result. And now we have a nice waterfall. And this was done in 2 minutes, right?
Shorter. And you have to only do it one time, of course. Now, after this, you refresh it. It will always apply these rules.
Exactly.
Until there's a new line.
And you can also apply the waterfalls, let's say, to the variances, right? So if you need to see the how those work, but then you can take it a step further, right? Because usually then you want to showcase some, let's say, percentage measures as well. And maybe if we just go into the gross margin here and we want to show the percentage as well. So you just right click on this, and without creating a new DAX measure, you just simply go into a new formula editor by adding formula and just write, okay, I need my gross margin in percentage. I want format it as percent, make this italic, maybe give it a blue tint to separate it from the rest, and say, okay, and add it to, I forgot, of course, formula. To write in, the formula. So gross margin
divided by
revenue, and it's there, right? You simply just place it, and it's now calculated for all the measures here. Also,
and also the differences.
The differences, exactly, in expressing percentage points, and now we can go into different, of course, time frames. You'll see that this also works dynamically, and you can create any number of those additional measures, and they're only present on the visual, and this really helps you, of course, with all those financial statements that you need to add those elements on the fly and so on, maybe percentages of net income, and basically you can create all sorts of those additional measures, and you can also.
But what if you had another visual in here with the breakdown per product category, for example, And if I would click this cross margin percentage, could I then also
use
it there, or do I need to add it then in that visual also, the cross margin percentage? How would that work?
So yeah, because this calculated element is actually not present in the model, it is actually referring to this one above it, right? And yes, this might, you can filter this visual from the outside, as you can see with the different slicers here, or if you maybe had a so we can just add let's say a business unit here, and just use this as a filter, right? And it will respond, right, to those. But if you had, let's say, a chart that would need to show this, it won't automatically jump because it's only present in the visual, right?
Okay, clear. Now, good to know. Hey, so you can slice on it on every dimension you want. But the other way around, if you want it, then probably you have to resort to another solution. But it's nice that you can add lines and calculation, because I'm sure that that's you can't do that in a typical table in Power BI in such a flexible way, and this inversion, etc. So cool.
Yes,
I like it.
And if you prefer to have, let's say, your P&A statement in a let's say more classic view, you can of course also use the chart switcher and just switch to just numbers and
this is for the accountants.
Yes,
this is the accountant view.
and just have this. And now when we have that much more space, we can of course then include maybe some groups on let's say the column level. So for example, if you want to show, let's say, the month to date and year to date data side by side, maybe we just turn this filter off. We just add a period calculation to this visual, and now we have the monthly and year to date data side by side. And I think this is filtered out here, so we don't have the full year, but you can then have full year and year to date, and you can control what is present in any of the groups, and we'll go into the use case for this maybe a bit further down. This is
you can do it in the right way, or if you want, but it looks very flexible, so every group you can also indeed select which columns you want to show or not show. And what are these? Because you have different views within this visual. With these arrows, you switch between the options. Sometimes that confuses me a little bit, because I saw it also in Sasha's demo. Is that something you can also disable? Because can you select which views you want to enable for people?
Yes.
There's so many views. Maybe can confusing.
there's a lot of possibilities that can be done, but basically the report designer has the control of the interaction. Can the end users interact with this? Can it change certain elements and so on? So this is all present in the interaction controls. Oops. And so once you publish the reports, you can have really just that view that you desire.
Oh, Bas likes it very much. Good, Bas. Nice that you're watching, Bas. You will be soon in one of our next Get ResponsLIVEs, Bas. So we're gonna do it on location. We normally do it online, but that will be the first one we do. We did our very first episode on location, and then after that 85 online. But so I'm looking forward to that, Bas. Okay, so this is the table. What will you want to show next, Mark?
Yes. Okay. So let's continue with the rest of the elements, right? We just covered the variance analysis, but we showed some nice things that you can do, of course, for financial statements, and it's because one more thing, maybe just because we had that, of course, the report structure, and we also separated the let's say the accounts into the ones that fall into the balance sheet and cash flow. You can just quickly switch between those. Of course, so the cash flow elements and so on, you can, and you can just have it in one visual, and this is really flexible, right? But yes, the next element would be, of course, advanced charts, and some of these advanced charts are integrated into the tables as well. But of course, we also have a completely separate visual. So it's called the Zebra BI charts. So yeah. And for this, you can maybe just complement this, let's say, comparisons within the structure. But of course, you can leverage the interactivity of Power BI, right? And you can have time frames represented in let's say, chart view. And for this, you can use the Zebra BI charts, which offers you some really, really nice advanced charting options. And for this, again, we find the standard, let's say, placeholder buckets for the comparison measures, but we'll start, let's say, with monthly breakdown here, and then we'll add some actual data, and Zebra BI will automatically choose, let's say, the most appropriate chart. So if we have a single measure for comparison, is of course the column chart, but if we add a comparison measure, it jumps into, let's say, a waterfall charts. That's really good for those target measures. And if we add any sort of other measures, you will get, of course, the comparison measures if you have the space. And then here is probably, again, this chart selector that you can, of course, choose which charts you want to use. So you have column charts, bar charts, column charts, area charts, line charts, and all of course follow this same visual storytelling and so on. You can, of course, completely customize them. You can switch the labels. You can break the y-axis to see maybe the variances in more detail. Again, you can control this with the axis break. So if you need more closer and so on, right?
So there's a lot of tweaking you can do within the visual, within the visualization options, the formatting options, to bring it really in the format you want. Yeah, cool.
And because all is responsive, right? It depends on how much place you have. It will still, of course, try to present as much data as possible. And again, you can just use the cross-filtering functionality here to, of course, filter all visuals. And this, because it's Power BI certified, it of course works within the entire Power BI stack. So you can also export these reports once they're published. You can subscribe to them and so on. So
how does that work in an organization? So a developer has purchased a license for this.
Yes.
And now he wants to publish it on Power BI servers. What does the company need to organize to make this work also in Power BI servers? What do they need?
Yes, if you have the free license, you can use this freely across, of course, the company. But with, let's say, the Pro license, of course, you get some more advanced options. And of course, let's say you want to rename some elements on the charts and so on. You have those available with the Pro version. Maybe all charts options are not available, and multiple comparisons, right, are a bit limited. But then if you have the Pro version, you then need to, let's say, count the amount of developers plus the viewers. And this is the total amount of licenses that you need. And this goes into the package of up to, let's say, 20, up to 5, up to 50 or 500 and so on, or enterprise company licenses. And basically the price is per user per month. And with a larger package, of course, the price per user per month is lower.
And how do you know how much licenses are being used by readers? How does that work then?
There's a few, let's say, analytics options. They are far from optimal, but yes, basically the company has to estimate that amount. So,
all right.
Yes, currently this is the licensing for the custom visuals. So you cannot just track.
You cannot measure it.
Because the custom visuals don't have actually, at least if they are Power BI certified, they must not store any data back from the users and so on.
No, that's why I'm asking how that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have just packages, and you say, okay, we are part of this package, and there's a certain price attached to it. Okay, clear. Good to know. Because there are larger corporations maybe that also want to use it, and good to know how that works. All right. So this is the chart options. So you can and they work perfectly together with the tables.
Yes, and you also have some predefined layout. So if you want to show the integrated variance, regardless of the size, right, or just a particular variance, you can just switch between those. You can also customize the colors to your company designs. You can include your custom themes across the entire visual. So, for example, if you want to, let's say, apply a custom theme and with your custom settings for each individual, for all the visuals, you can simply just go into the View tab here, just import that JSON theme. So let's just go here and switch to a predefined theme, and all the settings of the visual can be defined there. So yeah, the colors, the column names, the default design. But if you want to just change some parts of the visual, you can just go into the design settings, and you have some predefined styles here, also for colorblind friendly options, and maybe the default Power BI colors and so on. But also, of course, your custom colors, which you can freely.
But in the for the JSON, you have to do it in the actual JSON file yourself. You need to know the codes and the.
Yes, but we also provide the predefined JSON with all the settings, and then you can just simply tweak it. It's not.
You can download it from the website or something.
Yes, yes,
and then you can tweak that. That file. Okay, cool. Yeah. Peter, I saw your question, but I'm not sure what you exactly ask. So if you can maybe specify it a little bit more, then of course we'll answer it. But yeah, thanks. Cool. So
okay. So
so what are typical? Wim, you have a lot of customers already using this. What is a little bit what? How would you describe them? What are they looking for? Why are they selecting this this custom visualization?
Basically, it's a really nice way to standardize your actionable reporting across the entire company, right? Because you don't have to think about, let's say, different design elements. Everything is scaled. The key let's say focus is automatically driven through the design of the visuals, right?
Yeah.
And so especially in performance reporting, it is really important that you go to the let's say the visualization of let's say variances and so on, and they need to tell you the one set of truth, and it needs to be immediately comprehensible, right? And this is something that's really easy to implement with Zebra BI across the whole company. And of course, some of this, let's say the scaling problems and so on, are really difficult in Power BI, right? So just if we go back to the tables problem, right? Just scaling the two columns between those two, right, is basically a really big problem. In Power BI, and if
you can't move around the column width. You mean so? It's less responsive.
If you customly define the width of the column, right, and it's not actually responding. This column is not correctly correlated to this one, right? And it would just scale to the width of that column that you customly defined. This is a really
true
big problem, right? When trying to convey the correct, let's say, impact that needs to be, and of course then the business decisions that follow.
So we show the visuals. What is the next thing you want to show, Mark? Because we're already moving to 45 minutes. So let's have a last topic, a short one of what you can. What is another cool thing to?
Yes, so maybe we can skip through the small multiples that Sasha has already shown. So
we saw it already in the slide before.
So just if you want to scale multiple charts within the visuals, you just place it in the group placeholder, and you'll present the small multiples. But then you can also do a really nice analysis of, let's say, monthly and year-to-date and full-year data because of those grouping functionalities. And this is a really typical business case, right? So we want to present, let's say we have, we are in September, right? And we have our actuals from January to September, right? But then for the full year, we have some forecasts and we still want to present this data when showing the full year data, right? And for this, we have a combination of this, let's say, grouping on the tables, and then we just simply hide certain elements from the groups. So in the full year, we want to show the switch between the forecast and the plan comparison, right? Because we don't have the data for the full year yet. And this is automatically done in the charts as well. So if you don't have actual data present, it will jump into the comparison between the forecast to plan. And this is something really nicely visualized. So the next thing also that you see here is the commenting solution, right? This is also one of the elements of actionable reporting, right? The commenting to give additional insights on what the data is actually showing. So if we go to this example of the financial statements again, right? And we just, let's create here a duplicate. We simply need to add the comments to our visuals here. So what we have, we can have a comment table that is somewhere stored in SharePoint or Excel and so on. And it's simply linked in this case to, let's say, our date ID and our accounts table, so we can filter those comments, right? And if you want to comments to some data points, you can add, of course, a Power App and just add those comments into that Excel table directly in PowerPoint, in Power BI. And then once you have them, you just simply drop them into the comments placeholder. They will pop up as small markers in your data. And if you hover over, you will get those comments. But as you've seen before, you can just simply turn the comment box on and you have the automatically generated comments directly on the visual, right? And
how is that working in the data model? Because you use the account and the month.
Yes.
I see a table there with the comments. And so, how does it work in the data model, the linking of comments to the rest?
Basically the comments are a separate fact table, right? And with whichever dimensions you need, you just simply
you hit all the other columns. That's why we only show the comments.
Yes, because this is but in this particular case, we would just need the account and date ID and the comment, and all the rest of the comments are actually unnecessary. And once you have this, so you can of course filter the data by those dimensions, and you just display them here. You can of course change the icons, the variances.
And I really like what you said about if you have an app in here where you can put these comments in, and of course there is a commenting section in the Power BI service, but you know, it's a little bit limited. And that's also why I think they then move now to Teams. We can discuss it in Teams. But here you have it really integrated. This comment is belonging to this line.
Exactly.
This month. And it is dynamic because you can select any month. And the comments from that specific month are being shown. So I really like this commenting also indeed. And if you add now an app where you can include those comments and write it in that file.
And we actually have a whole webinar on this regard. So how to implement the write back commentary, so you can go step by step. With the Power App, and you just simply add, delete comments, and then you have this one, of course, version of truth, but everyone or the people dedicated can of course comment on it.
Looks very very nice, because also the numbers are repeated, I see in the headers, so you right away know what it is about. I really like this feature also. I think that's really a plus on top of the standard solution. So looks very nice, Mark. There's so much to tell. Probably we'll have another session later this year. Maybe on this app integration. But I have to end the session for now. But I want to thank you very much for sharing this all. And if you're watching this back and you have further questions, don't hesitate to put your questions in the comments. We'll always come back to it later also. And yeah, so thank you again, Mark, and for your time. And next week we're also here. We're going to have a Q&A because we had a Q&A scheduled 2 weeks ago, but then I was ill, and also one of our guests was ill. So Stephen and maybe someone else will also join. We'll just have a Ask Me Anything or Q&A on Power BI, from beginner to expert. You can ask anything you want, and we'll try to answer it. We'll do our best, and maybe other people that are watching have the answer. We don't know. But so we're looking forward to that. That will be next week, next Thursday. And thank you for watching all. And hopefully see you next week. And enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Mark, stick around, hoor.
Yeah.